Charts on the wall and a robot's logic still need a handshake that feels honest. Let's talk about the next 5 years. Find the signal in all the noise and fears. Real stories that you can use. Straight talk to see your vision through.
We have Katie Hanna from Details Matter Bookkeeping today with us on the show. Welcome to the show, Katie.
Hi, thanks for having me.
To kick things off, Katie, could you tell us or our listeners about yourself from a high level and explain your role in the business, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So I own it. It's Details Matter Bookkeeping and Advisory. I took over the business from my mom. This is actually my second career. I decided to switch careers and take over my mom's business. And so I have been a certified bookkeeper for 15 years. And I'm getting ready to celebrate my 10th year in January in business. But I was by myself for a long time. So it's really only been the past like 4 years since 2021 that I've been really like building the business up. And I now have 7 staff that work for me. I have 80 couple clients. Um, and so I am a certified bookkeeper, which is not at all required. There are no requirements here in the US to be a bookkeeper. You can just decide that for yourself. But unfortunately, that also means there's a lot of skill gaps, right? There's people that are less qualified and more qualified to actually be doing things, that sort of accounting. And so this is kind of just a little bit higher level of learning. So I kind of pride myself on that. And my staff are also a lot more trained. Some have, degrees in accounting, or they have certificates or something of that nature. And basically we mostly work with small businesses, maybe some small nonprofits, but mostly small business. Um, in different industries, and we take care of everything that it comes before the taxes. So bookkeeping, payroll, um, you know, including and up to actually paying bills for some of our clients, actually like invoicing their customers for them. But sometimes it is just kind of monthly categorizing and doing the data entry and the organizing really of the data. That's more so, as I think we're going to talk about, right? The data entry is going away, and it's more about the organizing and the,
Yeah,
financial
we're gonna come to those new tech tool AI in a minute, but before that, I also understand, Katie, that you got a degree in animal behavior,
I
and you also
do,
work
yes.
in vet. So how do you end up in accounting?
Well, yeah. So I think I was just that kid, the kid that wants to be a veterinarian when they grow up, right? Like basically the whole time growing up. And then I think by the time I got to college, I wanted to be a zookeeper. Was really that's where we transitioned. So, like I wanted to train animals at the zoo. And so I went to Towson University, which is in Baltimore, Towson, right next to Baltimore. And I actually double majored, so it's animal behavior and regular like human psychology, because the animal behavior degree is both bio and psych. Um, but I was also the kid that like fell out of tree. Like I was a rowdy kid. I fell out of trees. I, broke a whole bunch of bones, like on roller skates and doing crazy stuff on my bike. Like just, so I'm kind of broken as an adult or even as a young adult. And so I actually threw my back out in college just from working at a vet office, like cleaning cages and assisting the vet. So that kind of got me into this. Well, I don't know that, because you think zookeeper, I'm thinking like lugging bales of hay. And I'm like, that's a very like physical manual job. And I don't think that, like, as much as I would have loved to do it, I don't think that I was physically capable of doing it. But I did end up working at a animal shelter there in Baltimore for a number of years. And then my husband, he's the same age as I am, but he graduated after me because he stopped in the middle of the work. And so he is in biotech. And so ended up moving back to my hometown in Frederick, which is, between Frederick and DC is where a lot of the biotech is here in the US, honestly. Um, and so it was kind of that I have to leave this anyway. I was really getting burnt out on the animal rescue, right? You're doing 5 different people's jobs for half a person's pay. It's a lot. It's a lot. And so I kind of was like, maybe this isn't the career path. Maybe I find a different career path and then I volunteer, right? Like there's a different ways to go. I can still be passionate about animals. I can still help without, it being my, whole life. So moving back home, I just, my mom had her own little bookkeeping business. She was a banker for many years, and then the banks kept buying each other out. And she was one of the, 75 back office VPs that when they get bought out, those are the first ones to go, right? Because there's some regional office somewhere that already has them. And so she's just like, whatever, I'm just going to do bookkeeping. And she just never really stopped. She never went like back into like the corporate world. She was just like, whatever, this is fine. And I think as probably most entrepreneurs are like, this is going to be great. I'm going to have so much free time. I get to be my own boss. Everything's going to be sunshine and roses, which we all know is untrue. Though I will say I'm kind of getting there, right? 10 years and I'm finally getting a little bit more to the sunshine and roses where I have a little bit more free time because I've hired people. But, so yeah, and honestly, I was probably one of those people, I was one of those people that was like always bad at math, like, or at least told that I was bad at math. I've come to realize now it's just because I can't do math in my head. Like I'm fine with it if I can use a calculator, if I can write it down. I'm also ADHD, so my brain just doesn't calculate inside. That's just life. Uh, so, but yeah, so I was like, well, I'll learn how to do that. And honestly, a lot of what I had done, even at the animal shelter, was a lot of the administrative, right? Organizing, right? Being detail oriented, like things that translate very well to bookkeeping. And so it really wasn't that difficult of a transition for me. I really enjoyed it. I like being able to honestly, my favorite is if I've got a big hot mess and I've got to like detangle, you know what I mean? Somebody's books come to me and they've just, royally screwed it up. And it's like, well, that's fun for me, not for anybody else, but for me, it's fun to untangle. But, I like to be able to, help these business owners. I think I live a little vicariously through each one. Like I get to learn about all these different industries, these different business ideas. And I'm like, that's a cool idea. Like I get excited about that. Um, it's all worked out. I really think that this is probably what I was, meant to be doing in one way or another. It's just a weird way that I got there.
You sound like you've done very well, actually, for someone who was told, they're not very good at math. So congratulations. Katie, AI, you touched upon this earlier. AI is everywhere at the moment. We can't get away from it. People like Bill Gates, they are saying that AI is probably the biggest thing in tech he or other people have ever seen in their lives. And that's some telling coming from Bill Gates.
Right.
So
Yeah.
what kind of trends are you seeing in your industry to do with AI at the moment?
There's a lot of chatter about it. You know what I mean? I don't know that it's really been implemented a ton in the accounting part of the industry. It's getting there, but we haven't really, I think, seen the full use of it yet. Now, I use it, obviously I and many other people are using it very heavily on the like marketing side of things. So I use it to help me do marketing plans, to write blog posts, to, social media. Like I even have used it to help me rethink about my packages, or, because I was kind of like, I want to restructure them. What do you think? It's like almost like it's a little business coach, right? What do you think about this? Is there anything else that I'm missing? You can ask, the chat GPT or whatever your favorite AI is to talk to. So I've been using that for quite some time in that fashion. And we are starting to see the AI come in for like the actual bookkeeping part, the categorizing of transactions and things. So um, I think that there's two ways to look at it. You can either say AI is going to take my job, right? Especially as a bookkeeping only firm, right? We don't do tax. So you could say, well, I'm just going to be out of a job. Or the way that I look at it is, you're either going to get on top of it and become an expert, yeah, you are going to be out of a job, right? Like, so I'm just kind of decided I'm going to have a good attitude about it. The people who are like, I'm not dealing with AI are going to leave and I'm going to take all their business, like that's
Yeah.
kind of the way it is, right? Like,
Yeah.
so I can see, I am an 80s baby, right? Like I grew up with no internet, no cell phones, as a child. So like I've been kind of through these tech changes as we've gone along. Like I'm pre-social media. I mean, I'm not even that old. Like, but it's changed so rapidly. And so I think I've also like I've had to adjust, over and over and over again, right? It's like been my whole life. There's always been a new thing that you had to learn how to do. Um, and so, for me, it's just like, cool, this is the new thing. I'm going to get on top of it. I'm going to figure it out. So yeah, so I am excited to start doing some of that. The way that, I'm looking at it is that, if we have AI that's going to be able to help us do our jobs faster, more accurately, because again, we're humans, we can make mistakes. Um, but so can the AI, right? And so what I see is that the AI doesn't understand the context, right? So it's going to try and categorize transactions based on what you've categorized them before, right? It's just kind of generically saying, you know, uh, this is software, it goes into software expense. But I mean, I can tell you personally on my own books, I have 3 different sections for software expenses. I have one that's my accounting software, I have one that's more of my office software, things like Adobe, you know what I mean? Things of that nature. And then I have one that's more of my like advertising, like my CRM and that kind of software. I mean, everything I do is software, right? I work virtually. So so I split it out. I don't just have one giant lump of all the software that I use. And so that's where I see it coming, right? It's just going to say, oh, this is software. And you're going to have, the bookkeepers are going to be the ones that are going to bring it context. One of
So
the
it's
other
not like
things
you
that,
are, sorry,
yeah.
sound like you are very proactive in terms of you've embraced AI in your own way, which is actually
Hmm.
very refreshing. I mean, we speak to many people, I mean, there are mixed feelings out there. Some people are just experimenting. Some people are still at the chat GPT, I mean, tell me a joke kind of stage, or some people have gone far beyond that, and you certainly have gone beyond that. So you mentioned you're using AI in your marketing, especially content generation. So, but are you also using AI or thinking of using AI in other areas in business, like sales or customer services or operations or any of those things? Yes.
Yes, all of the above, really. I'm seeing from it's one of those it's so hard to like learn what you can even do with it because it seems like it can do everything.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's the same as like if you were to hire like a VA, like a virtual assistant, a person. I hear this all the time and I've experienced it too. It's like I don't know what I could give them to take off of my plate. You know what I mean? So I'm still learning what is it that I can delegate to AI, you know? So I'm learning all the time. I do have a service that sends out cold emails to, potential potential clients that they use AI. So I haven't set that up myself, but they are, I do have one that's using that. Yeah, and I was even thinking the other day because in my BNI group, which is a networking organization, um, one of the members created like a chat GPT just for our BNI group. So you can ask it things like, who's the, vice president? And it'll bring that in and what's the next event coming up? Like all the things that, trying to keep everything in one place and just being able to easily ask for the information because, we get a lot of questions. I'm actually the VP, but so the president and I get a lot of questions about like, what do I do about this? Like what, trying to reach out. And so having something that's like, you can just ask the chat GPT about this specific group. So I'm like, oh man, I need something like that for my business. You know what I mean? Because my staff are constantly asking me questions, and I really do my best to make sure that I try and answer it more in like the group chat, like that I let everybody know about it. Maybe I record a video. But so now I have this giant library of like little snippets all over the place, little videos. Maybe I've said something in the chat or I've said something during a meeting. So it's a very much like word of mouth trained because it'll be a specific situation for a client, but that doesn't mean it won't come up again. And so for me, that sort of like bulk of knowledge, like having some sort of like an AI or whatever that can sort through all of the things that we've collected and all of the knowledge that I've, built up in the last 15 years, and organizing that so it's not like just God only knows where on Google Drive.
Yeah, no, lots of businesses actually, lots of businesses are starting to do that.
Yeah.
They create a database and actually they use that not necessarily just for ChatGPT. They do without ChatGPT as well for customer services.
Mhm.
Uh, but you have the little banner pop up on the side of the screen. But they also, many restaurants we know personally of, they're actually using them to take their table bookings as well. So this database of ChatGPT, if you like, uh, that will know everything about the business. Like, for example, they could understand the whole business the way you are. And then, but in this specific example, they will also have the menu and the table reservation information. Everything will be available in, let's say, just for argument's sake, this Google Drive. And then when someone calls in to say, can I make a table reservation, or, can I make an order, please, a takeout order, or some other order, or do you have the nuts in this thing? So I have allergy in this. So could you give me more information about certain food? So they're starting to use those things, which actually creates a very kind of competitive advantage for the business. So a cost advantage, you're an accountant,
Mhm.
you understand these things. So, you don't need to have one resource taking the phone calls all the time. That resource can do something else because AI can do it for you. And then
Right.
it doesn't even cost that much. And so lots of businesses are starting to use those kind of things. And then, as you said, in marketing, for leadership, or sales, or operations. So that's really exciting to see, actually. But are you seeing those examples in your clients as well? So I know sound like you're a very forward-looking person and you're embracing AI, but then are your clients doing the same thing as well, or in BNI group, other people you
Well,
meet?
in my BNI group, like I said, I have this one member, he created that whole kind of chat GPT database. So there are some that are way more than others. And actually, we just inducted a new member that their whole business is AI consulting for businesses. So I'm really excited to get her to know her better and, potentially like hire her to work on some things for my business. So I'm getting there. We're getting there. But clients, it's I think the kind of the same as I was where, they use it for like marketing and that sort of thing. Like, cause, I think that was kind of the first thing as business owners that we were told that it could do. It's like, oh, just use that to help you with your, blog posts or social media posts or, you know what I mean? Like coming up with marketing strategies like that. I mean, it was the first thing that I heard about. And I think that that's, probably a shared experience among a lot of people. So I do know a lot of them are using it in that side of their business, because as business owners, we're usually the ones that have to do that unless you've hired a marketing company or something. And currently still I'm getting ready to hire a marketing company, but currently still I'm doing all of those things, and that's on top of the other being a business owner. So internal things. I'm also the person that does all of the, in person, like networking and, meeting with potential clients and all of that. So and I hate doing social media. Like, what I would love to see is AI that was much better on the like creating like more of the graphics and stuff. Cause right now it seems like, I mean, sometimes I see these crazy AI generated art, but I think on a day-to-day basis, like, I don't understand prompting enough to be able to get to that level.
No, I think
So
they are like more kind of experimental. They are
yeah,
currently
yeah,
at the
yeah.
on the edge kind of things. But then, I think as business owner, we have to have two ways of looking at things. One is something I can use in the core of my business to grow the core of the business. And the other one is,
Mhm.
the experimenting on the edges. So yeah,
Yeah,
so new things are going to come in all the time. It's
yeah.
things are going to improve all the time. But it's very exciting, actually. It's very, very exciting. Um, but I mean, so yeah, I mean, your core business uh, is bookkeeping. So something
Mhm.
like, you know what you're doing. So you inherited this thing from your mum. Um, so you've come a long way. I'm just curious about like future, all the businesses, they have, some kind of view where they're going. So for you, so what will be those goals or milestones you want to achieve for your
Mhm.
business in the next maybe 10, 12 months, maybe?
Yeah, I have been working on a lot of things. A lot of what I've been doing this year is sort of business development logistics. So, um early this year, like this past tax season, um, I had a client or two leave, and I had, a few, prospective clients that, said no because they said, "Hey, I found an accounting firm that does everything." And so I made the decision, well, I guess we need to do everything, right? And so I have been kind of making plans and, figuring out logistics of how I can add tax as a service. And we also have like sort of a fractional CFO arm that was already in the works, but we're gonna, hopefully get that like ready to be launched. And I kind of also, like I said, next year's my 10-year anniversary. So I was kind of thinking like this can be a big thing, right? I can kind of maybe rebrand and, roll out new services. And it's like, big celebration 10 years, right? So that's sort of the plan. And it's getting there. I don't have all the details. We're not going to be able to offer tax by this, coming tax season, which is really the first quarter of the year. So it's coming very quickly. So not by then, but hopefully by the next one. So it'll be kind of
What
implementing
kind of
that.
challenges would you anticipate getting there?
Um, to me, well, there's a lot of compliance, you know what I mean? Like, so when it does come to taxes, I mean, technically you can get yourself like it's called a PTIN, like a tax preparer identification number. You don't necessarily, same thing. You don't necessarily have to have like a lot of training, but really, I think everybody understands in the business world that you either need an EA, which is an enrolled agent. It's like a tax specialist created, designation created by the IRS, or a CPA, which is our version of the chartered accountant, right? The certified public accountant. To do your taxes. If you want somebody that's professional and has a lot of experience and you know what I mean, like they're basically getting master's degrees at a CPA level, and an enrolled agent is probably at least a bachelor's, maybe something like that, but they have very specific tax training. Um, so that to me is the concern is how do I bring in that level of expertise? To me it's interesting because, I knew how to do all the things, right? Like as the owner, I have done all of the things that my staff currently do. right? But when we get to tax, that's something I've never done. I couldn't answer the questions. I couldn't, you know what I mean? I can't help technically manage it. I mean, obviously I can
Also,
manage
I think
people.
also you will need expertise as well. Not necessarily expertise, but also qualifications as well to give the tax advice.
Right. Yeah. So I don't have any of that. I'm not going to myself because I'm going to leave that. Now I do have some plans. So I'm going to be able to bring some key people in to do that. But it's just, working out those details of, who's going to be doing what and at what level can we, start doing things. So it's going to be, I think, a slow rollout. So we're working on it. I think it's going to be happening here in the next couple of months, the start of it. Um, so that's a big thing. But going back to the AI, I also think we're going to be rolling into it this year, this coming year. Our main accounting practice management software is Double. Used to be Keeper. Now they've changed their name to Double. They have AI bank feeds as part of their modules. It's integrated with QuickBooks Online. Unfortunately, the QuickBooks Online has AI bank feeds. I don't know how AI. There don't seem to be AI at all. They don't seem to be any different than the non-AI bank feeds. So you're not doing a good job. But my Double software, I tested it myself, and it did an absolutely incredible job. And not only that, but on the ones that, let's say it was like a new vendor, and they kind of had different sections. Like, we're almost positive that this is where this should be categorized. We're pretty sure about these, and these we're not sure at all because they're a new vendor for the client. Um, and those, it would even kind of like Google it for you. Like, it would have the synopsis from whatever that website was. So it just, really simplified it. I mean, we wouldn't even have to leave one screen to be able to do our job. Um, so I would like to start getting all of my clients onto those AI bank feeds and teaching my staff to use those. Again, I think my staff is going to be more in the, bringing context. They're still going to need to review the AI. They're going to need to manage the AI. But my next step is, hey, if they're not doing as much of the kind of day-to-day data entry, then like you said before, they're free to do other things. And so I see even all of my bookkeepers becoming advisors and being able, so that way people who are on my lowest level package, right, where we're really just, we categorize stuff, we send them, we reconcile, we send them the reports, that's it. They're going to be able to bring insights, right? They'll be able to even just, hey, I noticed that you spent double on this expense this month, right? Like, what's going on with you? Like, your income is way up or your profit is way up. You should probably talk to your CPA about tax planning, right? Like, things like that, like being able, even just on a base level, because they'll have the time to do it, to actually review things much more, not just, right now it's a lot of review for inconsistencies, right? And then instead it would be review for, more context, like what's going on, what, kind of insights should we share with the clients. So that's the way that I'm going towards.
Yeah, I think feels like you're going the right direction.
I hope so.
So
Like
yeah,
I
I
said,
think
you're either going to have to embrace it or you're going to get left behind. And I was just like, not me. I'm not getting left
well, this is
behind.
there. This is there. I mean, the AI is not going anywhere, so it's gonna
No.
stay, and you either embrace it, or just as you say, just left behind. So you might as well just embrace it and move forward. But you
I,
are obviously in the scaling state,
yes.
so
Yeah.
just scaling businesses, they 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 hit the wall at some point, and they stop growing.
Hmm.
Sooner or later at some point because of the different issues they have in the business. So in your company, so what would you say will be the most time consuming or the resource heavy processes? Would that be data entry or other processes you guys are doing, which is mainly manual kind of labor work in the business?
Yeah. Um, well, I've got totally different things than the rest of my staff has, right? Because my job is very, very different than theirs. Um, so the staff, it is a lot of that. it's not that they're manually like typing things, but having to, categorize all the transactions one by one. And it's when we get it's honestly in the third party integrations, right? Like, let's say we've integrated PayPal with QuickBooks and it's bringing in transactions, but it's bringing in like the income goes in one way, the fees for PayPal go in another way. If they purchase something, it goes in another. You know what I mean? You have all these different transactions. And some of these people, if you looked at like their PayPal statement, I mean, it's like 20 pages. And then you go to reconcile and it doesn't reconcile. And now you're down to, I guess I'm going to have to like go through line by line to figure out what in the world is wrong, and why it didn't, because there could be one transaction missing. There could be one transaction that has, maybe it's dated November 1st instead of October 31st, and that's why, you're off. So that's, I think, where we get into it is when we have like lots and lots of transactions and things. You think that the software is all talking to each other, right? And it's not. And we have to figure out, why is that happening?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the biggest problem for my staff. Now on my end, it's definitely this prospecting, right?
Mm.
I would say that we've plateaued a bit. Not totally dead, but I'm not, I don't have the momentum that I had in the last 3 years. And a lot of that, I think it's, I've done everything. I've been doing everything the same way, right? I do a lot of networking. I do a lot of like one-on-one meetings with people. Um, and obviously I'm doing BNI. I have some other things and, I'll do stuff like this. I'll talk or I'm going to have a lunch and learn. But that's only reaching a very, all things considered, a very limited group of people, right?
Okay.
It's very, location based, right? Between my county and the neighboring county. So Frederick and Montgomery counties is kind of where I've done my networking and talking to people. And so you have these circles, but it's like I feel like I've reached the end of the circles. Like if people know me at this point, if they had a referral to send to me, they would have sent it. Right. Like I don't think I'm going to stop doing those things, but I think we need to move to the next level. So I think that's going to look more digital. That's going to look like more, more outreach to beyond my, geographic scope. Because while I live here in Maryland, I mean, I have clients in California, the other side of the US. I had one that lived in Belgium. I have one that lives in Mexico. So, it really doesn't have to be here. The reason that I have a lot of clients here is just because this is where I've been networking. This is where, current clients will send me other, new clients. The CPAs that I work with, I have very good relationships with a bunch of the local CPAs because I don't do tax. And typically they don't want to do bookkeeping. So great, it's a great combination. Um, so that's really where I feel like I'm a little stuck. But like I said, I'm getting ready to hire a marketing company. And again, I think that's the strategy, right? Like I need somebody that's like thinking more holistically, that's going to be able to come up with a plan, for the business as a whole and how are we going to move to this next stage?
Yeah, I was going to say that because bookkeeping, you don't need to be, I mean, it could be anywhere. Your client could be California, as you say,
It
Alaska,
doesn't
or
matter.
anywhere really in the world.
Mhm.
So yeah, so there's absolutely no reason for you to be confined to a very small geographical area. So it's not like your main issues, where you're telling me are probably more marketing than anything else, sitting at the top of the pyramid. The
Yeah.
staff in the company, they are doing what they do anyway, so they are doing a wonderful job. So from that point of view, I'm just curious, when you have those strategies in mind, do you have any fears or uncertainties you're feeling, or maybe other people you talk to, uh, with with growing the business and also embracing AI into the business as
Oh, I
well?
mean, I hear all the time, right? Well, it's either, only half jokingly AI is going to take all our jobs, right? Like that or the, Skynet is coming, right? If anybody's, we're 80s kids, like the Terminator, right? Like the machines are taking over, and this is just step one. Like we always say please and thank you to our chat GPT. Like we don't want to be the ones vaporized when things go wrong.
What's your views on that? So do you believe in that, or?
I can't rule it out. Enough science to rule it out. Okay. Like we're always, I think we are a generation of these like apocalyptic movies, right? And like we've been through like almost apocalypses here, especially in the US, like multiple times, right? Like literally our whole like way of living changed after 9/11, right? Our whole way of living changed when the internet came out. You know what I mean? So for us, it's like, well, it could happen. You know what I mean? Worse
And
things
there
have
we are seeing
happened.
Star
We
Trek.
had a Hurricane
We are
Katrina that
seeing,
took out like half the, southern US. I mean, bad things happen. So to us, I think we're like, I can't rule it out, right? But we've seen some bad things happen. So, I don't think it's like going to happen tomorrow, but I couldn't rule it out. I mean, I'm also not like doomsday planning for it, or if it happens, it happens. Like I guess I'll just be dead.
I think the other,
Yeah, I
I
can do
think
about it.
my personal view is at that point, the lawmakers will step in and they'll say, well, enough is enough.
Yeah, we're done
So,
with that.
you can't carry on developing AI if it's going that direction. The scientists will have to, the programmers will have to be told that, okay, stop.
Yeah.
So slow down. So
Uh,
I don't think
yeah.
that's going to happen. But
I
then,
don't think so, but it's just that's the kind of like I don't know. I guess because I also hang out with people my age, you know what I mean. So I think that's just kind of it's just kind of the half jokingly, but like we're not really 100% like joking. But yeah, so I think there are people that are afraid of being left behind. I mean, I think I have that fear, right? And so that's why I'm like I'm gonna instead of just saying, well, I kind of laying down and taking it, I'm like, I'm gonna I'm afraid that that's gonna happen, so I better, start preparing. I might better get ahead of it. That's the way that I went about it. I think also it's the same thing as when things started going more cloud based, right? Like you see a lot of accountants. I think the statistic was like 55 or 65% of accountants in the US are like of retirement age or older. There's just like this huge, boomer generation of accountants that are retiring. And so, they had that struggle. And some of them are still very paper based. Like they use QuickBooks Desktop. They were like, I'm never touching QuickBooks Online, right? Had an attitude of that. The way I do it is fine. I'm not going to deal with the new technology. And they're retiring, so it doesn't matter, right? Like they kind of feel like they could do that because it's not like they were, young and trying to build the business like I am, right? I'm not anywhere close to retirement. I'm kind of right in the middle. So, so I can't just like lay down and be like, it's going to be the next generation's problem to deal with that. Like, no, it's my generation's problem to deal with it. We're going to have to adopt it or, like you said, we're going to be like the boomers that were just like, ew, I'm not using, the interwebs. I don't know.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I don't feel like I have the choice. But I get excited about it. I get excited about new things. I always have. That's just a personal, I think, um, just mindset, I guess. So I'm not like a doomsday usually. Everything's, terrible and everything's, changing and I don't like it. I mean, some days, but I'm like, okay, well, that's a new thing. Like I'm gonna learn about it. I'm just I like to learn. I like to learn new things. So
I
I
guess
think it's a mindset.
someone said actually once that, well, a long time ago, actually, someone very wise person said that the only constant in life is change.
Yes, yeah.
So therefore, the change is always going to happen. That's the only thing that always will happen. So AI revolution is just another change, basically, in that evolution of human society. So, we better embrace it.
Mhm.
But then talking about this revolution, if you like, called AI. So that probably, for most businesses, that's going to require a shift in mindset.
Mhm.
So from your perspective, I was curious to learn what kind of skills or roles would you need to thrive in the next 5 years, considering there is AI revolution is going to happen. There's no way, other way around it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that education surrounding AI and how to use it, it already exists. It's gonna, I think, be even more prevalent. I think it's gonna be, we're gonna see that in. I think we already do because I'm on the community college board. But I mean, you're gonna see it in college, right? They're gonna have to teach the students just like, because again, I was kind of in college when, you could start researching things on the internet, like just the start of it. So it wasn't quite as bad as it is now. But I mean, you have to understand, like, one of the things they're teaching is like go to the source, right? Like, what's the source material? Is it a reputable source material, right? And so it's going to be the same. Really, it's the same thing as AI because AI is searching the internet. It could come back with incorrect information. So understanding, how to use AI ethically is going to be a big thing, right? And being able to, critical think and make sure you can't just take it at face value. You have to, think about what's going on with that. So you're going to need to understand the background of it, right? It's the same with our software now, right? Like I know how to use QuickBooks Online, but I have to understand accounting because it's a tool. It's doing a lot of the accounting for me, but when something screws up, right? The things aren't talking or, something is something's wrong, I have to know how to fix it. And I have to know the accounting to understand the base, what it would be pen and paper in order to fix the software, right? The software is just the thing that makes the pen and paper is the baseline. It's just making that easier for you. So it's the exact same thing with AI, right? Like your kind of pen and paper the way it used to be, that's the baseline and it's making things easier, but you have to be able to manage it. So that's where I see it's going to be a lot of education that we're going to have to do. There's going to be a lot of, especially industry based. So probably a lot of the industry, associations are going to have that sort of, here, I already see it, here's how we can use that in our industry. And so those are going to be important skills. And I think adapting and thinking outside the box, right? Like I was saying earlier, one of the hardest things is to think, what could I even delegate to this thing, right? Or to a person or to an AI, it doesn't matter, right? What even could I get off of my plate? So people who are like, creative and thinking outside the box and thinking of like, here's a new way that I could use it for my business. The innovators, that's going to be, that's going to be killer.
Yeah,
That could be its own thing. If I figure out how to use it right, I could sell my, tactics or whatever to other bookkeepers, right?
exactly.
Like, so, I mean, already developing its own, um, businesses. Like I said, we brought on this AI consultant, right? Like that's a new job that exists now.
Oh my
So
God, it's entrepreneur to the core. So there you go. So always
maybe
thinking
that's
about,
it.
yeah,
Maybe that's it. Yeah, because I same thing. It's like AI is not going to take my job. If it takes away parts of my job, like I'll just find new parts, right? Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? The average business owners still, I don't think are going to be able to use. They don't understand enough about accounting to be able to ask AI the right questions to be able to get the answers that they need, right? Like they still are
totally.
going to need somebody that's going to guide them and be able to explain things and explain things. I when I talk to people, I don't talk like accountant speak. I talk business owner to business owner, right? I own a business. I understand your challenges and I've been through a lot of those challenges myself. So, there's empathy there. There's that connection that is never going to go away. Right? You would rather talk to me and have that conversation with me than to ask the AI
Yeah,
at the end of the day.
talk about challenges, Katie. If you had one magic wand, then if that magic wand could eliminate one major operational challenge tomorrow, what would it be?
Mm. Honestly, I think our biggest challenges are, like I said, those like third party connections. Like if I could have something that just came in and you're like, I need all these things to be connected and work correctly. Like that would be great. Get the information from the logins from the client, log it in. There's security issues there though. So, I'm not saying that that is really going to be something that's going to be able, it's like now we have to, that's a whole nother challenge, right? Is
Yeah,
security.
yeah, yeah.
So that's part of the problem. But yeah, that's I think our biggest thing. We have to either get a login for a client, get the client to do it, which they may or may not understand how to do, to link things together, link things into QuickBooks Online, link things into, maybe our AI bank feeds, right? It's this like all the linking. Like we have so much software out there, but it still requires so much manual process to like get them to talk. And so that's the most, I think, frustrating for us.
That's very interesting. I mean, going back, I've been around the tech scene for a long time, but when almost since the beginning, if you like. And then I remember actually about early 2000s, we had the same issues, dealing with all kind of systems, data spread across everywhere. The challenge was actually bring them all together so we can make one system so that all the problems will go away. But then fast forward 20 years, 25 years, we are talking about the same problems again. The data is still on all kinds of systems, and we're still trying to bring them all together. So that problem hasn't gone away, really. So I wonder if that problem is ever going to go away.
I think it goes back to the security, right? To me, at least on my side, right? I'm in the financial section. So you can't just have some AI there pulling somebody's bank information, right, from 3 different banks and a credit card and putting into QuickBooks on, you know what I mean, with measures in place. Like I don't think AI is going to be able to just go out and fetch anybody's information anywhere. Like that's why everything is so segmented. Is more, protection of data, data privacy. And so it's almost, I don't know that will go away. Unless there's some way that you can be like, maybe it's like retinal identification, right? Like, this is me. Can you look at all of my stuff? Right. You have permission to look at all of my stuff.
I think which is why we are always going to need the experts who can do the job. So AI can make that job easier, more efficient, more productive. But then in my view, the need for the experts is never going to go away.
Yeah, I mean, I would say a huge part of my job is almost like software consultant, right? Like figuring out how to like either figuring out sometimes I'm even talking to a client like, "Hey, have you looked at this software?" Because I probably have another client that's using it, right? I've got a uh commercial or a residential cleaner client, they use Jobber, right? And so somebody's struggling with I'm like, hey, have you checked this out? Right? Have you checked out Jobber? Because I got a client that uses that. They seem to like it, right? Like I don't use the front end of it. I pull reports out of it, but so sometimes I'm doing that. And sometimes it's the mapping. I spend so much time mapping accounts and stuff, like you said, like trying to like get software A to speak software B's language. But being an expert on making those things run correctly is, that's a valuable service. That's a valuable skill set. So I don't think that that's going to go away. I think, even with the AI, like you're still going to need these people who understand how the AI works and how to manage it and how to, use it as a tool. That's the way that it's going. So
I totally agree.
yeah.
Hey, before we wrap up, there are many CEOs or the business leaders that are listening to your thoughts and insights. They are trying to manage the gap between where they are right now to the cutting edge future, which you have just described. Which one piece of key advice would you give them which will help them to to get there faster.
hmm I think it's really the embracing your creativity and thinking outside the box,
Mm.
right? Like that's such a buzzword. I know it's like cliche, but you know what I mean? Like and let me back that up too. You need to leave space in your calendar for you to have time to do that. And it might just be dead space, right? Like you just need some time. It could be like you just take off the rest of, to Friday afternoon. You know what I mean? Like you need to build some just absolutely free time where you're not, required to be doing anything else. Like maybe you're folding laundry if you feel like it, but you have to have these like blank areas because that's when your mind then has time. It's not thinking about, oh, I got to do this task right now. I got to do this task tomorrow, right? It has space to sort of let the little gears churn, and think, you know what? This would be really cool. You know what I mean? Like I would really like my business to go in this direction or, whatever it is. Like, so that's really, it's like, it's not just the, thinking, giving yourself, but giving yourself that time to think because you need
Yeah,
it.
I think you're referring to thinking time. Just
Mm-hmm.
put the thinking time in your diary, and then just think.
Mm-hmm. You just need to absolute like you're not responsible. I mean, you might be, but like you haven't booked that out on your calendar, for a specific reason, or you've left a gap, and it's not that that's that gap to do task A to B C D, right? It's just this is just empty space. Let your mind kind of wander and think of things, that's just what I've had to do because I think we, especially as entrepreneurs, as CEOs, as business leaders, like you said, we feel like we have to be productive all the time, right? Every single spare second should be spent doing something productive, doing something that's revenue generating, right? Or, putting out fires in the internal of the business. And the truth of it is like we actually need to give ourselves some more leeway because that's when all these great ideas, most of these great ideas have come had to drive, which I don't drive a lot. I work from home. But I had some stuff in Rockville, which is an hour away or 45 minutes as the crow flies, but with it's the on the way to DC. So the DC to traffic, it's probably an hour, hour and a half. So I've got like an hour and a half where I'm just kind of listening to music and my mind is both ways usually. So I've got like two of those it's like I start having an idea and then after that it's like, oh cool, let me refine this like on the way home. Like I've been thinking about it the whole time I was at the event or the meeting. So sometimes it's as simple as that. It's
That
like
actually that
you don't
reminds me.
need to listen to a podcast every time. Sometimes you just need to.
Yeah, I totally agree. Actually, going back a few years again, I used to drive, for my work, and then I used to carry a dictaphone with me. Back in the day, so when we had
Mhm.
those dictaphones, so sometimes I felt that sometimes those nice ideas come to mind, but you haven't got a piece of paper. You're driving, you can't write anything down. So I bought, I spent a lot of money to buy a dictaphone, just for that. But then what you're saying is just schedule the time, half an hour, 2 hours, wherever that works for you, on the side once every, and on a calendar, and then just think. So that's a time
Mhm.
management, productivity, and thinking time. That's very, very important. I think maybe
Oh,
that's a
and then
really,
I'm also hearing from people who they do that, like if they're out on their walk or driving or whatever, that they now have an app that they can like record it and it does the like AI transcript. So we're back to the AI again, where even your just
we are. I think
conscious stream
that's
of thought, you can just dictate it to the phone, right? And it's gonna, translate that into something useful. So
so people listening to this, this insight. I mean, listen, I mean, working, doing stuff all the time. You don't feel bad about it. Just take some time off. Just go play golf. Just
no,
put that.
because yeah, it seems like unproductive time, but it's really the necessary time to, sort of um sharpen your tools, right? Like just kind of like stepping back and maybe looking at things from a broader perspective, just kind of, so it doesn't have to be anything. It doesn't have to be, oh, this is self-care time. It's just leave yourself some more space. You don't have to be productive every minute, because the minutes that you're not productive, you're probably the most productive, right? Like your mind is being productive.
That is a very powerful takeaway in my book, and a very fantastic way actually to put it, Katie. But thank you for that. So it perfectly summarizes the challenges many business leaders like you and me and other people we face every
I'm
single day.
10 years in now. I've learned a lot. I've been able to kind of like get myself to that point. So I've not always been like that, but I've learned that, those nice little unproductive time periods are sometimes the most useful in the long run, right? Like that's when I've come up with these ideas of, you know what, we're going to do this. Here's a way that I could do that, right? Like running through the scenarios in my head. So, yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean, there's some thinking time and execution time. They should be they be separated, and then use the AI very, very productively in your businesses, and all businesses, because AI is here to stay. So you might well adapt it rather than just run away from it.
Yes.
So thank you again, Katie. So thank you for sharing your thoughts. Before I let you go, because I really enjoyed our chat today a lot, your thoughts and insights you shared with us, and lots of issues and challenges, etc. You mentioned. So I like to quickly put together by way of saying thank you and giving back a little bit. I like to quickly put together some insights based on this interview and the interviews we have done elsewhere. I call it like 15-minute insight and action plan kind of thing, which will be just for you. So it's basically bottlenecks many companies are facing in this space.
Very cool.
And like simple tech to solve them. So not a big presentation, it's a small, quick plan. So if you wish, I'd love to share that with you. So if you have, if you can spare 15 minutes next week sometimes or week after, so we can get together again, and I'll give that to you. That's okay.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you. So finally, those listeners who are listening to this podcast, please tell us, how can they get in touch with you if they need to?
Yeah, absolutely. So my website is detailsmatterbookkeeping.com. And remember, bookkeeping has 2 Ks. It's bookkeeping. So that's the main thing. I'm like on pretty much most of the social medias. My Instagram handle is not your typical bookkeeper. I think it's the same on YouTube. I don't have a ton on there yet, but I'm trying to start my own podcast, my own business podcast. So there'll be, stay tuned for more. But yeah, absolutely. There's, follow me, because I do put out a lot of educational content. That's my biggest thing. But if there's somebody that wanted to work with me, there's big, all the information stuff's on my website.
Great. Thanks, Katie. Really appreciate that. Thanks for your time, and wish you best of luck in your business going forward.
Thank you so much. I had a great time. Thank you for inviting me.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.